Hello, everyone. Having a good day so far? Sessions? So today we are going to talk about HANA and BW integration with Tableau, the best practices. I am Ritesh McKenna, Principal Architect in Professional Services based in US. And I have Kirian, who is based off EMEA. He's in London office, and he's ex-SAP.
Yeah, I was with SAP only a year ago, so I was working off business objects. So as you can imagine, HANA and BW were our major data sources that we were connecting to. So a lot of experience that I kind of brought to the EMEA-based team to help our customers get up and running, get started with the SAP backend and the whole SAP stack. So hopefully what we're going to show you today is going to help you get started. Any questions you have that we don't cover here, come up and talk to us afterwards. I think we'll have some more colleagues joining us that will try to get your questions answered. And
also have two of my customers here who I can use as examples. And if you have more questions, they're available to answer your questions, I guess, right? All right. So first, we're going to kickstart the session with SAP HANA. Then I'm going to hand over to Kirian. He's going to talk about BW. So the agenda for the SAP HANA today is three main areas: the architecture, integration, and performance. And we're going to kickstart with the architecture. The very first thing coming into architecture we're going to talk about is how to connect to data, of course. How do we make the connection? How do we get the row-level data security? How do we make the seamless single sign-on for the users end-to-end to have minimal IT administration? How many of the customers are already using HANA with Tableau? Nice. Is this familiar? Architecture? So you connect from Tableau server to HANA. And you also connect from Tableau desktop, of course. You have to connect to HANA, publish your data source or workbooks. You do need Tableau desktop right now. How many of you are using SAML in this room to connect to HANA? Wow. Very few. OK. So I guess a lot of people are not using leveraging the row-level data security via HANA. Is that right? How many of you have security, data security? So all of you guys are using SAML, right? That's good. So the main components which comes into picture is, of course, Tableau Desktop and Tableau Web. And these are two different types of authentication. If you want to leverage the data security, you need to have both these components comes into picture. The very first component is Tableau Desktop. That's where you connect to your HANA, develop your dashboard, develop your data source, publish, and then the users consume your dashboard or data source by the browser. Yep. So the browser always utilizes SAML. So once you configure SAML on Tableau server, how many are Tableau admins here who configured SAML? Yeah, so it's a completely different process. It's a completely different tab that we gave for HANA. Even though you have Windows authentication on Tableau server, you can still leverage SAML for your HANA. So it has nothing to do. You don't have to worry about, oh, I'm already using Windows 80. What I have to do now? Do I have to change the authentication for the whole Tableau people who are already in AD authentication to SAML? No needed. So it's only relevant to HANA. So even if you're using local authentication to Tableau server, you can still use it, but you can still leverage SAML to your HANA. So you could see that the first process flow, when the Tableau users are consuming the reports via web, it's SAML. SAML is the only way HANA accepts the authentication as of today. So in order the SAML to work, you also need to have Kerberos enabled. Without Kerberos, the SAML doesn't really make much sense unless you don't really care about the row-level data security. uh, it's fine. But if you want to use the single sign-on and the automated data security, you need to have both these enabled and have to be worked in conjunction. So why do we need Kerberos? So once you enable Kerberos on HANA, nothing to do again on Tableau server at all. So you just need to enable the Kerberos on HANA. Once that is enabled, when you connect from Tableau Desktop to HANA, when you make a connection, when you're publishing the report or a data source, you're going to get a pop-up saying as view as credentials. Did anyone observe that? Who's already using it? Yeah, so that's what drives the data security. So once you publish the dashboard or your data source with that option, that's the only option you'll get, by the way, when you're connecting to Kerberos to your HANA. So once you publish that, then your SAML kicks in when the user logs onto your report, and then the row level security applies. Of course, you have to have your analytical privileges and all, or your scripted calc views, whatever it is you're using. Once that is enabled, that's how the data security works. Do you understand the process flow? Why Kerberos is important? Lot of customers do ask me, why do we need Kerberos? All we need is SAML, but that's because of that option, that particular option, view as credentials. It's not going to come up if you're using Windows 80. I mean, you can totally use Windows 80 when you're connecting from your desktop to HANA. You can use your own local authentication, but without that option, your SAML is pretty much useless if you don't want to. If you want to leverage the data row level security. And for example, in your organization, let's say there are only 10 desktop users. For some reason, your HANA admin doesn't want to enable Kerberos for all the 100 users. Then you can just request them, why don't you enable Kerberos just for the desktop users? If you have like 10 desktop users out of 100, your 200 users, ask your admin person to enable the Kerberos only for those 10 people. That's all you need. Because once it's published, then your the SAML data levels, row level security kicks in. So all your users doesn't need to have Kerberos. Of course, it's good to have it, but it's not a must if by any reason your HANA admin has any objection. Clear? What's the other way to do it? Let's say you have issues with Kerberos there. Because one of the main reason your IT admin, your HANA admin might object is because a lot of multinational companies, you have multiple AD domains. You might have an AD domain in Europe, users accessing from Europe, from Latin America or US. HANA doesn't accept multiple AD domains via Kerberos. So that's a limitation. So you could probably, one turnaround is you could probably create a separate AD domain just for these publishers, Tableau Desktop publishers, and just enable Kerberos only for those users so that the security kicks in. That's one option. What's the other option is, does it sound familiar at all? Does anyone know about this option, initial SQL? We introduced this in 10.0. Especially for HANA. I mean, we have for other databases as well, but for HANA, we released it in this in 10.0. So you can leverage initial SQL if there is no other option for you guys. You can't use Kerberos, you can't have one single AD domain, then definitely use this initial SQL. What does this do? With initial SQL, you can configure your server user. So that means when the user logs on to Tableau server to view the report, you can grab those credentials. So those credentials could be grabbed in the initial SQL, and that could be passed into your backend of HANA. So you can just use that in your analytical privileges, just as select that username and just join it to your calc views or tables. Very straightforward process. So you can use that in your analytical privilege, or you can join it directly as a regular join in Tableau backend. It works. And you can publish the data source, and you have the data governance. It works seamless. So you don't have to worry about not having Kerberos. But of course, this is the only this is the option you have to go when you have no other choice. But this is pretty good. I'm going to very quickly go through the different types of security here, BW security and also HANA analytical privileges. Of course, Kieran is going to talk more on this BW topic. But a lot of times, customers do want to leverage the BW security. That is fine. Tableau will be able to communicate, and it will be able to leverage the BW security. Just keep in mind, don't expect the same performance as HANA because you're still leveraging the BW and not HANA. And of course, the next one is the HANA security, which does not depend upon BW. So all your security is migrated. You recreated the analytical privileges in HANA. That will be, of course, much faster because BW is not related at all. And also the initial SQL part, that can get pretty funky if you're using the BW security because when you create when you're trying to grab the session user, HANA does recognize, but BW has no idea what it is. So do not use initial SQL. It gets more complicated if you're using the BW security. So the next part is the integration, like how Tableau connects to different types of views, attribute views, or calc views, or analytical views. We normally do recommend to go with the calc views, and I think that's what SAP does recommend as well, because you want to do multi-dimensional approach where you can join your multiple schemas. And also the other advantage is you have your attribute views, and you can join your attribute views to your graphical calc views or scripted calc views, whatever it is. And you can, I'm going to talk more about that topic later, about the performance impact if you actually create quick filters from your attribute views, like a star schema, instead of putting everything together in one single calc view, which is good, but still it's going to be a little bit slower than the classical star schema approach. Yeah, but definitely this is the way to go, and Tableau runs much faster. And also why calculation views, of course. Besides this, also the other advantage is the core concept of SAP is to reuse the views over and over again because they are stacked upon each other, right? So definitely use the calc views. How many people use Smart Data Access here? Just one? Two? This is actually a cool concept of the HANA that I really like. So let's say you have a lot of data. You have like 5 years of data, and of course, if you want to bring in all this 5 years of data into HANA, it's going to be pretty expensive. You can't do everything in memory. So HANA does have this cool concept as SDA, which is Smart Data Access. Let's say if the users are running a report, and if they're looking at the data only for the last 3 months or 2 months, you can always set the data in memory. And you can always promise your users, yeah, if you're looking at the data last 3 months or last 6 months, which is already in memory, we promise you the data will come back in like 5 to 3 seconds. But let's say if the users are selecting the user parameters, of course, I'm going to cover the topic later, but it is going across. HANA automatically detects that data is outside of in memory, and it automatically routes the request. It does the data federation to the cold data store, which could be Hadoop or any other data source. So it's quite inexpensive, and it's pretty good. So Tableau automatically, again, recognizes this functionality. So if you're going back up to 1 year of data, HANA does the data federation part, and Tableau does recognize that. Again, the same topic regarding the SDA, the federated versus centralized. Of course, it really depends upon the budget and the overall needs. If you can if you want to put everything together in one centralized, yeah, go for it. That's pretty awesome. If you want to put like last 5 years of data and multiple multiple business layers of data into one single thing. But the other way to approach this is, let's say if you're not using SDA, what are the other methods that you're actually using right now? If you don't have the SDA, let's say if you want to hop on from one business area to the other business area. Anyone? How are you using the reports? How are you drilling down from one business area to the other business area? How do you navigate? Let's say you have some supply chain data, and you want to get like more analytics about the customers, which is in the other business area, and it's not centralized. Let's say that is in SQL Server or it's in Hadoop. Do you have any scenarios like that right now? Like, does all of you have a centralized data? Like big customers, I guess. A lot of money. What is that? One big box? Wow, that's good. Anyone use this? Action filters, pretty simple. You can navigate from one database to other database. Like every sheet is, one dashboard is coming from like your supply chain, and the other dashboard is coming from your users. You can actually type the data using these action filters. You click on the dashboard, it's going to give you more drill down details coming from the other mechanism. It's our smart data access. I'm going to talk about that in the next screens. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can pop up. If you want to make your Tableau report look just as webby, we do support that. But you also have an option not to show those prompts, user prompts. You're talking about the user prompts, right? Yeah. I'm going to cover this in the next upcoming topics. Yeah, but do use this mechanism if you want to go from your hot storage, which is like your in-memory, to if you want to drill down. So let's say you have like all your the main areas of business and supply chain division, East region. And if you want to drill down to the customers from East region who are in, let's say, Hadoop, yeah, you use the action filters, and you can drill down, go to other database, which is on the other sheet, and it's going to apply the filter automatically. Yeah. Action filters, yeah. It's our, like I said, it's our like smart data access, hopping from one place to the other. I mean, in case if you're not using the smart data access, this is the other option. Yeah. Oh, BW data, okay. Yeah. Yeah, the good thing about the, I forgot to say about the smart data access is, you can you're showing everything in one place. You're referencing your Hadoop tables or your SQL Server tables. You can still show it as a part of HANA. So that means user doesn't have to go to SQL Server. This is regarding the SDA, Smart Data Access. It's going to be like a virtual reference. I mean, even though it's going to a SQL Server again, it does a federation back to SQL Server or Hadoop, whatever it is. But it does like a seamless process. A lot of customers do ask me, even though I'm not from SAP, like what to use, graphical calc views or scripted calc views? How many people use the calc views? And the rest of the people are using tables or tables? Like one single table, persistent table? Okay. Yeah, why graphical calc views? So That's the SAP recommendation. That's again, like I said, it's a core concept. The core concept is nothing but reusable. It should be reusable, stacked up on each other. That's why you should be using graphical calc views. And if you use the scripted calc view is nothing but like a custom SQL. In a custom SQL, you wrote maybe like 50. You have like total 50 dimensions along with your metrics, and you published as a data source. And two different people from two different teams created a report. One person is using only 10 dimensions out of 50, those 50 metrics, and you're basically running the whole custom SQL, even though it is not needed. So keep that in mind. Your scripted calc view will always be slower than your graphical calc view. The graphical calc view, how it works is, whatever the dimensions and metrics that you selected, only those will be, the select statement is going to be formed with just your selection. But with your scripted calc view, no matter what, even if you create a report with 2 dimensions and 1 measure, you're still running the whole calc, the whole script, no matter what. So it's going to be a little bit slow, comparatively. But scripted calc view does have its own benefits. When do you want to run it? How many people does use the ECC hierarchies down here? Yeah, so that's a good solution. Because if you want to do hierarchies within the hierarchies, which is quite complicated in ECC, and if you want to rebuild that logic in HANA, definitely use scripted calc views. So for all the advanced SQL programming that you want to do, then use the scripted calc view. So the next one is HANA parameters, variables. Does everyone, I know people are using tables, they might not be using the user parameters and variables, but it's like rest of the people are using this concept. How many people have like a prompt screen for the Tableau? That's good, only 2 people. Oh, okay. It's pretty nasty, right? The prompt screen. Yeah, it still feels like the traditional reporting, I guess.
Especially dates.
The dates, yeah. Yeah, this feature is released in 9.2 sometime last year during, not last year, this year, sometime in January, I guess. That was a big step because this is a really good feature again in HANA, and we do recognize that the parameters and variables. Because why is it I think it's really good because all the push down happens directly at the database level. So that means you're all filtering the data at the database level, which is like much faster, and makes your queries more efficient and get the results back much faster. So definitely leverage it if you're not using it. Also, Tableau automatically recognizes these user parameters and variables. And you can always associate your default value when the user is running it. Let's say if you can prompt the screen, even though if you're not prompting the screen, if you have like last 2 years of data, you have last 2 years of data in your calc view, but by default, every time the report is run, the need is only last 6 months. You can make the default date and all this calculation run in the background, and you don't need prompts in that scenario. So you can uncheck those prompts, but still the prompts are running in the background, but it just doesn't pop up. I'm hoping everyone knows that, but this is another feature. A lot of people again ask, how come the names of these the column names are not friendly, and do I have to, let's say if I have like 50 or 60 columns, do I have to rename all of these manually in Tableau? You don't have to. So there is a feature called label. And if you change the label names on HANA, Tableau automatically does recognize this option and you don't have to do anything on Tableau side. Does everyone know this? Good. So the last part, performance, of course, last but very important topic. We're going to cover like topics as the report design, different types of filters, and what really happens, even though if you're using like prompts, when the report is about to get executed, what really happens on HANA. And of course, customization. So does people know about the customization? You can customize the ODBC connection using the TDC file. How many people actually use this kind of report design? None? That's good. Yeah, but a lot of SAP customers are moving from business objects, right? So they might still be using this kind of design. Yeah, do not use this. Do not go for like 10 different filters, 10 different quick filters, 10 different relevant value, and do relevant values on all these quick filters. It's going to be slow. Because Tableau does fire all the queries in parallel, and it's going to create a separate query for each of your quick filters. And your HANA admin might complain about that. Yeah, again, like I said, try to go with the more guided analytics approach. Instead of using quick filters, try to do more like a drill down approach, step by step. This will be much, much faster and more efficient. And also keep in mind when you're using the quick filters, to not just like go blindly select all fields. That's going to be way less efficient than using the selected fields. Just select the fields only where you really want the user to drill down on. If you have like 10 different fields on a report, but the need is only on 2 fields, just add those 2 fields. Otherwise, it's going to create a long query. So this is how, if you enable the prompts on the in the back in Tableau, you have user prompts created in HANA, and you enable that in Tableau. If you click on the report, this is how it appears, right? Looks familiar? It goes a prompt for the start date, end date, and whatever the other user parameters are. So at this point of time, let me show you how the report looks like. Then we'll come back to the screen. There you go. So this is my report. This is a report that I designed, and when the user selects everything, clicks OK, that's the report he should be expecting, he or she. So in the traditional reporting world, business objects or rest of the tools, before you click OK, well, you didn't. You selected the values, but you didn't click OK yet to get the report. What do you expect? What do you expect is going on in the backend? Any activity? Any activity? Do you expect any activity? We didn't click OK yet on the prompts. Exactly. So yeah, that's it, because Tableau is already it's already working in the backend. So whatever you have again in the quick filters, even though you did not click OK yet, it's already running the quick filters queries and whatever your dashboard or whatever you're trying to build on your rows and columns. It has already sent all these queries in parallel. I mean, it has to happen at some point. So the question is, isn't it a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing? Oh, the prompts are taking 1 minute? Definitely hire professional services. We are going to help you out. No, it shouldn't take 1 minute. How are you loading the prompts? So I'm guessing you have like one big graphical calc view, right? Or one, yeah, that's why. So one big graphical calc view, you can talk to Deepak after this. He faced the same issue. If it's one big graphical calc view with multiple fact tables going through it, and when you're trying to, when you have prompts, it has to go through all that. It has to query it. So don't do that. So. Yeah. So you created the prompts on Tableau side? Is that what? Okay. Yeah. So the reason why your prompts are so slow because you have some report design, right? So you created a dashboard with multiple quick filters and all. So it is sending the queries, and those queries has to compile before you get the prompt screen ready. So that's why go with the star schema approach. Have your attributes connected to your calc view and create the quick filters on your attribute views, because your attribute table will be pretty small. It's not going to be a huge fact table. Doesn't have to go through like 30 million records. Your attribute table might be like max 1,000 records, right? 1,000 or 2,000 records. So create the quick filters on that. It's going to load much faster. Make sense? Yeah. Yeah. I can skip. I'm going to talk about this one.
On the initial load, which is not expected. And then when they use the quick filter, each quick filter was taking 27 seconds to populate. Even though all these billion rows are in memory.
Yeah. And also they were using the scripted calc view, remember? So no matter what, they are using a few dimensions there. They were running the whole the SQL in the scripted calc view.
Yeah, but so what we did was like we thought like let's go back to basics. We know how relational database work. Even though HANA is intuitive, still there is a lot of modeling done on the HANA side to make it like even though the data is in memory. So what we thought like let us build a schema in Tableau. Tableau allows to do data modeling as well. I don't know how many of you do that, but you can actually do a semantic layer. You can build a semantic layer in Tableau. So we just broke it down the same calc view, whatever they have the star schema inside HANA, we just put it in Tableau. So we have class, we have dimension. And then we said, let's enable the join color. It's a feature where you say, assume the referential integrity. That means it's already taken care of the database level. So once we assume referential integrity and have all the quick filters as the dimensions as quick filters, and the task is basically used to render the views. And once we did that, the performance, the initial load, came down to 4 seconds. And the quick filter performance came to 2 seconds. From 27 seconds, 2 seconds, the initial load came to 4 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would say, I can tell you, like, we have tested with other databases also with the same model. Now, we are able to actually replicate the same performance for other databases as well.
Yeah. Even if you're using something else other than HANA, yeah, please do approach the same design. It's going to help you a lot.
People might think, like, why do we have to use HANA, we have invested so much money, and we have to do the modeling in HANA. But then, if you're using Tableau, I would say let's follow the best practices for Tableau, what it works. And what I saw also is that the backend, the memory usage, if you go into HANA, the memory usage also actually came down. So we are losing less memory, but higher performance. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so this is exactly the queries that popped up even before you clicked on the OK on the prompt screen. You can see there's nothing from the MSQL plan cache, and you can see all these queries are coming from the quick filters. They're already coming up. Normally, it does also create the queries from metadata. It does read the metadata. And you can also speed up your loading of your dashboards by suppressing that metadata. This is the same thing I was talking about, the thing pushed on logic using the user parameters and variables. And the TDC file customization, sorry, I have to rush because we have to cover the BW as well. The TDC file customization is, let's say you don't want to do that metadata readout every time, you can just suppress that. And also sometimes if you create some like formulas or like on the fly groups. Let's say you have a dimension with 200 or 500 values and you're doing a grouping on that. Tableau does create an insert statement. Insert statements are like really fast, but sometimes the Tableau admins does, the HANA admin people might say, what the hell is going on? I see 500 insert statements. It's a temp table. But yeah, for those type of scenarios, if you want to suppress the metadata and rest of the stuff, you can use this TDC file. Just Google TDC file, Tableau, you'll get more information. But it's all the customization. So it's just a simple file, XML file. You can suppress the temp tables if you don't want to use the temp tables. You can suppress the subqueries. But of course, I will be very careful before doing this. I can say go with the metadata, suppressing the metadata, but do not do the temp tables. I'm just giving an example. If you do something with the temp tables and try to do some data blending, that's going to crash HANA server. That's it. That's the session. And if you have any other questions, we can actually. I'll take the Q&A after BW. With this, I'm going to pass the mic to you, Sierra.
Cool. Thanks, Ritesh. I think that we've got a fairly advanced group in here for the BW. Can I get a show of hands to see how many people are actually leveraging BW with Tableau? Okay, that's less than I thought. And how many would like to leverage? Okay, cool. So it's not completely irrelevant. Perfect. Okay, so when we're using Tableau with SAP BW, let me just show you my agenda for the discussion. I'm just going to talk briefly about how Tableau interfaces with SAP BW. Okay, what do you need to get started? We're going to talk about variable and prompts, which is also something that Ritesh was covering just a moment ago. What connection should you use? Should you use a live connection or should you use an extract? And we'll talk about the extract beta as well. I can go into a demo just to show you how Tableau reads those SAP BW systems and pulls it right into the tool. And then we can talk briefly about some third-party tools. And these guys are actually here at the conference if you want to stop by their booth in the Exhibition Hall 1. And you can find out more about them. They're really cool guys, and they've got some really cool tools that help interface with SAP solutions, not just BW or HANA specifically. And then there's some coming soon information as well. So if you've Googled how Tableau interfaces with BW, you've probably come across this diagram. It's completely accurate. With BW, we will be able to consume BEX queries and info cubes. We do that through the OLE DB driver. So that's available through the SWDC on SAP side. We can't distribute that, so you can get that from that website. We are using the MDX query language, so we're always having up-to-date data as much as we can. And we have the ability to create Tableau extracts. So this Tableau extracts, anyone here using Tableau extracts with the beta program at the moment? Cool. Anyone using Tableau extracts with third-party tools at the moment? With Theobald? No? Okay. So at the moment, the extracts feature is in beta. It is coming out of beta. We are working on it in the background. It's not entirely on our side with the delays. It's been in beta for a long time, but we've had issues with trying to work with drivers being provided by SAP and back and forth, and we are expecting it to be fully released in 2017. So where does Tableau sit amongst all the other tools that I'm sure you're all aware of? So just to give you a quick overview, you can see straight away, and I'm sure you all know where they actually connect and how they interface with the underlying business warehouse stack. But Tableau sits kind of on the outside and works through the OLE DB for OLAP driver I'd mentioned before. Of course, we're not going to be able to have the full functionality of some of the other tools using a BIX direct connection. Of course, it's SAP proprietary, but it does work quite well. And yeah, you can work through that. What do you need to get started? Of course, the SAP GUI, it's essential. Tableau will read all the system definitions from your SAP logon, so any of the systems defined in SAP GUI, any of your SAP config ini file. You will need the ODBO driver. That's the driver you'll need to get from the SWDC. In some cases, you'll need to get the BEX query permissions. So in the BEX query designer, you'll need to allow external access for those queries. And obviously, you need SAP BW user credentials. So to touch on the prompts and variables, they are fully supported in Tableau. Some examples that you might want to do, you might want to prompt for user credentials upon opening a dashboard, and you may want to prompt at the same time for query variables, so you can execute that query back against the BEX query or the cube. And there's other obvious variations of that there on the screen. Of the guys using BW at the moment, is it live connection that you're using, or? And how's it working? Is it okay, or what are your limitations? What do you want to see out of the tool, or what are you missing from the live aspect?
A lot of times, just really the functionality that Tableau really provides, where it's sort of constricted connecting to, where it's if we're connecting directly to a BW cube or a query on a live connection, Tableau is restricted on what it can actually do.
Yeah. It's some frustration. I've worked with so many customers like this, trying to create calculated fields. You can go in, of course, and create calculated members if you want to, but it doesn't always work the way you want it to. Have you tried using extracts yet?
Yeah, we use the
You're working off the beta extracts?
Yeah, we almost exclusively use the extracts.
Cool. A question in the back? This is the additional data on the BW side, the BW metadata. Yeah, it's something a lot of customers have been asking about. We had a workshop in Germany about 2 months ago, and we basically collected all the information. Of course, all the customers in Germany being very loyal to the German brand, they've requested a lot of things like this. And we've put that back into product management, and we're seeing what we can do to pull in that extra amount of detail. So that's the master data of the BEX queries and info cubes that you want. So the long description, the medium description, all those things. Yeah, it's been highlighted with product management. We've got it in about a 10-page document, so it could be something that they're working on. I suppose the important thing to remember is that we haven't forgotten about BW. We still identify that it's already invested. You guys have invested so heavily in the tool. We're not going to forget about it and just say no. The beta program looked a bit crazy with the long duration that it was running for, but we're getting that out of beta. We're working a lot more with locking down these drivers. There's a lot changing from the SAP side, which is hindering our ability to provide, sufficient functionality and features with that. So if you are having issues, I mean, we have a lot of customers who put pressure on their SAP account managers to say, look, I need to use Tableau with this. Lumira is just not good enough. Or whatever else they're using, business objects and Webby, it's no longer good enough.
When you're saying work is underway, is it mainly underway on the SAP side or on the Tableau side?
Yeah, I mean, both. I mean, we've got a lot of the features we can't release right now. Like they're ready to go. Like a single sign-on, we want that. That'll be out in 2017. We've had that ready for a while, but we've had issues with the drivers. I think a classic example is with BW 7.4 that was released. The ODBO driver for 7.4 wasn't released until I think it was a few months ago. So it was a bit delayed, and then we were facing a lot of questions and comments from customers who always wanted to use the most up-to-date drivers. And we were saying, go use 7.3, because that's what we have. That's the only thing that's available for us to test with.
Do we still have the temporary keys, license keys that are temporary, that special keys for the extracts?
Yeah, that's still there, but we're removing that in the new year. That's going to become a full feature. So we won't need to have that additional extract key.
One more thing, we were getting a lot of, there were two main errors. We were getting cube contains too much data to transform.
Okay.
Cube contains too little data to transform. So evidently we just the right amount of data.
I'm not sure. Let's talk afterwards, and we'll see if we can help you. you were saying that's a certainty. I'm not sure. I was speaking to the developer. He was actually talking to us before this session. So the actual development manager working on it, I thought he was going to be here today, but I don't think he's here. He was giving me, facts that it is coming out in 2017. It has been working. Same with single sign-on. We're just waiting for a stable release of a driver from the SAP side.
Yeah, there is an SAP meetup tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. in JW Marriott. Anyone interested should join that.
Yeah.
SAP meetup in JW Marriott. Check your app.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to get right in beside the product managers and the lead developers on the SAP connectivity and interfacing. So, I mean, they need to hear your feedback. I hear it every day from my customers. I want to, get this fixed as much as you do because it make my job easier. But yeah, I mean, go to that meetup, talk to the guys. You'll have their ear for an hour. So that's a live connection. We just spoke about the extracts as well. We're running up short on time, but does a demo make sense to people to see how just that initial connectivity works? Would everyone be okay with looking at that? Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'll do that. So let's jump out of this for a second. My mouse is on. Okay, so I have this is going to be tricky. I have my SAP logon and my systems defined in here, which I'm sure you're all aware of and you've used before. When I come to connect with Tableau, this automatic drop-down list is already populated with those systems that I have there. So it's reading in the new 7.4 version, it's reading the XML file. With 7.3, it's reading the original ini file, SAP config ini file. To establish connection, I'll just go ahead and connect. Nope, got my password wrong there. And you'll be met with this window. So for selecting the info cube here, you'll be given the option. So there's been a few updates recently. So the most recent updates is actually having this search functionality, and this came straight out of our customers. There used to not be this search functionality. I know it seems really simple, but these are things that we have been listening to you guys. We've been implementing in the tool, just like that meetup we had in Germany. We're taking in all this feedback, and we're trying to make this a much more enriched experience. So for example, I'll just go straight to my Superstore here, and it's going to be familiar to you guys that have already connected. But I'll just come to my Superstore demo query. Again, I've got my prompt popping up. We'll just select furniture for the moment. But I could go ahead and add in my different categories as well. I just left that in there for the example. And I've got the BW extract key here. So it's giving me the option to actually take out all that data or just connect live. So I'll just connect live for this example. And then you've got some of the features that you had before, just like you are connecting to your Excel or to your other data sources. The point that the gentleman in the front was making with regards to your calculations, you're limited by what you can do with the calculated fields. So if you are going to be heavily invested in creating your hierarchies and calculated fields from a BW perspective in Tableau, use the extracts. Get that extract beta key, do your testing, do your benchmarking, but also that's coming out in the new year, so you should be more rest assured that you've got a stable release and everything's going to work fine. Does that make sense? Everyone okay with that? Cool. I'll jump back into the slide deck. Let's see where we're at. Okay. So what if you've got your data in other SAP modules? I mean, you guys are all heavily invested in SAP Stack in many cases, where you've got SRM, CRM, ERP, FICO systems. So how can you actually get that data and connect it to Tableau and build out insights and visualizations in Tableau? You could use the transient info providers if that's something that your team, your basis team, have the skill set to do and have the time and bandwidth to do. That's absolutely possible. But you can also use the third-party tools that I was mentioning. And these guys are here at conference. So I'll just jump into the first one. Oops, went too far. So this is Theobald Extract Universal. It's a really awesome tool. I've done a lot of benchmarking on this tool. I actually provided a lot of feedback to the product managers and the development team here in Tableau just to say, these are my observations, this is what my customers are doing, this is why they love this tool. Essentially, this tool is using the BAPI interface, so it's going to be a much more enriched and better experience for our customers. And we pass this feedback back. So if you want to see a demo of that, they've actually got a screen live in the Exhibition Hall 1 showing this. It's on repeat. I think it's got a timer, and it can do everything within, I think it's like 5 or 8 minutes on the screen. And they'll easily and happily talk you through that if you want to see that. And the awesome thing about this is you can set up your schedules and automatically publish content straight to Tableau server. There's no need to have to pull it into a folder, then have someone manually go ahead or even use tab command to publish it every time. It'll publish directly to Tableau server. And that's what I see a lot of our customers who use this doing. Any questions on that? Does that seem interesting to anyone, or is that something that you guys would be... Do go over and talk to the guys. They are awesome guys. I don't know if Patrick himself, the actual founder, is here. Yeah. What is Maestro going to do? So this is essentially extracting the data out of BW, but Maestro is going to be completely different. It's going to be, you will be able to take, once our extract feature is available in the full release, that's coming out in 2017, the connectors will stay the same. You'll be able to use all of the 45 plus connectors with Tableau to pull in. So you could take an extract from BW, go over, take an extract from, or connect live to Hadoop, and build out a data connection in Maestro. Okay. This is just an alternative tool.
Yeah, we are releasing our own extract process.
Yeah, this is just really good at the moment. And you can connect to different ABAP reports or different tables in the other SAP environments. That's why it's pretty cool. We don't natively connect to CRM, ECC, all of those. So for situations where you want to gain insight on those, you can use a tool like this. And then we've got Universe Bridge. They're also here. So the concept is to reuse and not rebuild. You've already built out all of your universes. They already exist. You've got the semantic layers that are already in existence, and you're probably going to continue to use with your Webby reports. You can use them with Tableau. You can connect up with Universe Bridge to build out insights on those universes straight away. They're here, as I said. Go over and talk to them. They'll be much better at explaining it than I will be. But I do like the tool, and I have recommended it to a few customers already. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was what I've already mentioned. SSO is coming. Native extract feature is coming. There's a lot of focus on the BW stack. It can seem sometimes that we're kind of, not focused on it, and it frustrates me myself too when I'm working on projects with customers. But there's a lot of attention on the BW stack from our development teams. And do go to this meeting that Ritesh was talking about. It's awesome, and you'll be able to get a lot of one-on-one time with the product managers and the developers. And with that, thank you very much for your patience and attendance. I hope you found this helpful and useful. And we'll see you around.
If you have any questions, we can take the questions now.